Season 12 is wrapping up real soon. Literally like tomorrow, soon. Don't think too many more things are going to be happening. So, how did we do this season? Well, not the best. I actually went back to watch my Season 12 first impressions video, and I don't think anything on how I feel has even changed from my first impressions 3 days into the season compared to now. I'm not sure if I should feel happy or sad that I was able to vibe how I thought the rest of the season was going to go. As I finished writing this video, I noticed it was a bit shorter than previous videos, and I thought I had missed something. And I didn't. This season was just carried by a lot of Beyond Light's content. Story-wise, Bungie continues to make good strides in actually keeping me interested in what's going to happen next, although this season, specifically season, not expansion, wasn't exactly poppin' with tons and tons of story beats. I actually went back to look at what I thought of Season 10's story just to see how we have progressed, and I was not kind, but I didn't really have the biggest reason to be, if I'm being honest. This season was mainly about hunting down targets with the help of the Crow and eventually freeing him from the Spider once we got rid of the High Celebrant and envoy of Xivu Arath. But again, we didn't really have much of an Act 2 this season. Crow made himself known, we helped free him, and now the interesting part can potentially begin. The rest of the world sees the Crow. I'm almost more intrigued with that than I am with Savathun, but I think that's mainly fatigue from hearing about Witch Queen this, Witch Queen that for so long. A lot of the next season seems like it is going to be focused on the Cabal based on the marketing material, so I'm wondering where the Crow will fit into that, or if they just plop him somewhere else for a season and then he kicks back into gear later in the season, or maybe in Season 14. As for thoughts on fighting the Cabal in Season 13, I'll leave that for my first impressions. Gameplay-wise, the seasonal activity was lacking at best. You charged up a thing called the Cryptolith Lure by doing a bunch of core playlist stuff so that you could hunt down a boss, which took approximately 1 minute or less for a targeted piece of loot that you could further refine the search of when using trophy mods within the lure. Finding the balance between seasonal and core playlist content is tough, and this season was swung way too far towards the core playlist side of things. You had to engage with the core playlist for much longer than you really got to engage with the hunts. Not to mention running out of charges while you wanted to keep farming the hunts, only to be told you need to go run some more strikes or something, is not really the best feeling, although Bungie did up the charge capacity on the lure from 3 to 5 early in the season. Tier 2 hunts did not really end up being that special either. I get that you were maybe just supposed to go do some hunts once your lure was full, not really forcing the activity until you had a few charges to go do, but it still just felt restrictive at times to have to go do something else before you got to go do the thing that you actually wanted to do. And if the reward you wanted wasn't listed on one of the bosses, you had to waste a charge killing a boss and just had to hope that you got it on the next try. Farming god roll weapons does little to nothing for me, considering that this is all we have done for months and years now, except this time it matters a little bit more because of weapons sunsetting. I get that we're in a looter game, but maybe that feeling should be ringing some alarms. Sure, there were a couple interesting weapons, neat perk combinations, but for me anyway, not doing a ton. I've said this in literally all of my seasonal recap videos going back to Season 8. Getting new gun models does not really excite me anymore, especially if the way that I get them is inherently not that exciting. Stasis. More of a Beyond Light thing, I get it, but man, Stasis is literally in the game. I did not engage with PvP for about 2 months straight, not a single game until the end of the season. The reason is because I played PvP when the season first started and decided that I was going to let people go nuts with Stasis and maybe it would get tuned a little more or not as many people would be playing it in the Crucible. I decided that because playing against Stasis was not really the most fun for me. While my return to the Crucible wasn't as terrible as I was imagining it was going to be, being frozen is just not fun. I guess it's a bit more acceptable being frozen by a super, but there is just nothing fun about being frozen in place. I don't think I can roll my eyes harder into the back of my head after being frozen by something. It's just not fun to not be able to fight back in this game after this long without such a thing, period. I can live with it. It's not as bad as it was at the beginning of the season now that people have gotten used to it, but when you see 4 more people using Stasis on the enemy team, I would just rather leave and try to get a new lobby. I'm sure all the PvP YouTubers have had dozens of videos on this topic already, so speaking as someone who only really participates in the Crucible when I have to, being frozen is just not a fun experience in this game. That's all the feedback I really have to offer right now. Sandbox-wise, though, I think we're actually doing somewhat decently there. Not perfect, but I feel like I've been killed by a somewhat wide range of things, although in Trials, hand cannons are about 30% of kills, give or take, in the most recent 4 weeks, and the next highest primary is a sidearm with 3%, with specials clogging up the number 2, 3, 4, and 5 spots. 120 RPM hand cannons seems like they're maybe flirting with a nerf, but I guess we'll see on that. Shotguns are as relevant as ever, with Titans able to slide further than GME slid back into the red over the past week. That being said, PvP is still one of the biggest concerns within the community right now. Wanting enhanced anti-cheat capabilities, there's been no new maps, no new modes, no new Rift. Where is Rift? No new anything, really. I don't really know what Bungie plans on doing with PvP over the next year. I have zero idea. Not a single bit of insight. A new set of Trials armor is coming in Season 13. Looks pretty neat, but not really sure that's going to solve everything, although I'm sure Bungie knows that. I'm not going to talk about Trials because I had no interest in even trying to play Trials this season, and I'm not going to talk about the Dawning because it is more or less the same experience that we've had previously, and there's not much else to say. We did have the community quest with the Dawning, where Bungie had to, again, increase the speed at which we gained progress in said quest, but I spoke about all of this in another video a little while ago. Adored was the seasonal weapon for Season 12, a sniper rifle, which took a lot of flack for being beloved with a sheet wrapped around it. The weapon itself is fine, nice range of good perk options, nothing too crazy, which is to be expected considering the downshift in power in these kinds of weapons. What was new were the ornaments for this weapon. You had to hit up the 3 core playlists and do a series of tasks in order to unlock the ornament from that playlist. I do like me some in-game earnable cosmetics, but I wasn't in that big of a hurry to grab them because I wasn't using the sniper a whole lot, if at all. I ended up getting them thinking that I wouldn't be able to when Season 12 was over. I was wrong. You have all year to get them, but at least I got them now. That's fine. They were not that bad to go get, each maybe taking about an hour or so to do. Hawkmoon. The return of Hawkmoon was the big ticket, big exotic event of the season, being the only exotic weapon to earn. Duality was the season pass weapon, along with the Harbinger mission being a big ticket item. Secret-ish mission style, not exactly the same as Outbreak and Whisper, but within the same universe for sure. It was a difficult solo mission if you wanted to solo, alternating paths week over week, different final bosses for a few weeks, encounters weren't too shabby, plus lorebook, plus triumphs, plus catalyst, and since it's staying around for the year, Bungie was able to really do the difficulty justice when it first launched, unlike many other exotic quests, which have no difficulty to them whatsoever because Bungie probably wants to make sure people are able to get it done before the end of a season before it goes away. There's not that much to hate here. This was really good. I just feel like it flew under the radar much more than I realized, and I'm guessing that's due to the fact that Hawkmoon was available to get in the middle of the season, but we weren't able to farm for random rolls for another several weeks. Feels like the hype kind of wore off by then, since people were already sort of mentally winding down, as the end of a season isn't usually jam-packed with stuff. Hell, I didn't even make a single video on the catalyst or the farming part of the mission, although I think that's more my fault than the mission's fault, as I have not been performing well at my job recently, and I kind of need to get it together. Season 12 was definitely not our best season. Definitely towards the bottom for me, overall. In terms of the seasonal gameplay loop, I would also put it towards the bottom. Unless one of the archetypes of weapons from this season is buffed, I will probably not touch this seasonal content outside of powerful drops, if they even give powerful drops. This season just did not feel like it had a lot going on, and I think that's mainly due to a less than stellar seasonal activity and the giant gaps with the Hawkmoon related content. I have a bit more hope for Season 13 because Season 13 is not paired with an expansion. Much like how Season 8 was, Season 12 felt carried by Beyond Light from a gameplay perspective, although I'd say Season 8's seasonal activity was better than Season 12's. Season 13 could end up feeling like Season 9, in that Season 9 was one of the better seasons last year, and Bungie maybe knows that since the seasons that are paired with expansions are a bit weaker, that they really need to bring the heat with the season following an expansion to keep people interested. I also have a bit more hope because Bungie has a year of experience now cranking out these seasons on their own, and they probably have a better idea of how to produce content for them. But as far as Season 12 went, well, let's just say I'm glad Season 13 is here very, very soon. If we're talking rough seasons, at least Season 10 gave us Warmind Cell mods. I guess Season 12 gave us Hawkmoon, but yeah, onward to Season 13. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.